The hangar doors were already closing when the Apache went silent. Not the dramatic kind of silence. No explosion, no fireball, just the sudden, terrifying absence of sound from a machine that was never supposed to go quiet on the ground. The AH-64 Apache sat there under harsh white lights, its massive rotors slowly ticking to a stop, mechanics frozen in place, knowing exactly what this meant. A frontline attack helicopter grounded, a mission clock still running, and an engine problem that the best experts in the room had already failed to fix. Before anything else, if you love your country and respect your soldiers, hit that subscribe button right now. They have been working on that engine for 48 straight hours. Engineers flown in from different bases. Civilian contractors with decades of credentials. Diagnostic laptops plugged in, panels stripped open, hands blackened with grease and sweat. Every test came back inconclusive. Every attempted repair ended the same way. The engine would spool up, hesitate, cough like it was choking on its own power, and shut itself down. Somewhere deep inside that machine was a problem no one could see, and time was bleeding away. This wasn't just any Apache. This bird had a history. Combat hours in Iraq. Close air support missions in Afghanistan where ground troops swore it saved their lives more than once. It carried scars, barely visible welds, replaced panels, serial numbers scratched and restamped. But it was trusted. Now it sat useless, a symbol of everything that could go wrong when technology met the fog of war. The commander stood at the edge of the hangar, arms crossed, jaw tight. Colonel Matthew Harlan wasn't a man given to panic, but the tension showed in his eyes. Intelligence reports were stacking up. A critical operation was scheduled within days, maybe hours. They needed every asset in the air, especially this one. And yet, no matter how many experts he threw at the problem, the Apache refused to fly. One engineer finally broke the silence. He was young, brilliant, and exhausted. "Sir," he said carefully, "we've done everything by the book. Replaced the obvious components. Ran the diagnostics twice. If it's not showing up, it's something else. Something else." The two words no commander wanted to hear. Harlan turned away, walked a few steps, then stopped. He remembered a name. Not from a manual. Not from a briefing slide. A name passed down in stories, usually late at night, usually by pilots who'd been around long enough to know better than to exaggerate. A veteran who'd retired quietly. A man who understood the Apache not as a machine, but almost as a living thing. Most people thought he was a myth. Harlan didn't. He pulled out his phone and made one call. The veteran arrived the next morning, just after dawn. No entourage. No dramatic entrance. Just an old pickup truck rolling past the security gate, its paint faded, its tires coated with the dust of long roads. The guards checked his ID twice. Not because it didn't match, but because they couldn't believe it did. His name was Elias Red Calloway. He walked into the hangar wearing plain work boots and a weather jacket, gray hair tucked under a cap that had once been part of a flight uniform. He didn't look like a legend. He looked like someone's grandfather. A few of the younger mechanics exchanged glances, barely hiding their skepticism. This was who the commander had called? This was the answer to a problem that had humbled teams of experts? Red didn't notice them. Or maybe he did and didn't care. His eyes were already on the Apache. He stopped 10 feet from it and just stood there. No clipboard, no tools, no questions. He looked at the helicopter the way a doctor looks at a patient. Reading posture, listening to silence, noticing things that didn't belong. Colonel Harlan approached him. "Mr. Calloway," he said, extending a hand. "Thank you for coming." Red shook it once, firm but brief. "Colonel," he replied. His voice was calm, roughened by age and old rotor noise. "You said she wouldn't stay running." Harlan nodded. "We've tried everything." Red finally stepped closer. He walked slowly around the Apache, fingers brushing the fuselage, eyes tracing the lines of panels and bolts. He paused at the engine housing, leaned in, and closed his eyes. For a moment, the hangar was so quiet you could hear distant birds outside. Then Red spoke. "She's not broken," he said. A few mechanics stiffened. One of them frowned. "Sir, with respect." "She's tired," Red continued, cutting him off gently. And she's telling you something you're not listening to. That earned a few raised eyebrows. Red asked them to power the engine up. Reluctantly, they complied. The Apache came alive, systems humming, rotors beginning their slow, heavy turn. Red crouched near the side, one hand resting against the metal. He listened, not with his ears alone, but with his whole body. The engine faltered. Red nodded, as if confirming a suspicion. Shut it down. The commander watched closely. You hear something we don't? Red stood up. I feel it, he said. This bird flew hot missions back-to-back for years. Desert heat, dust, emergency landings you probably don't have in your logs. Somewhere along the line, someone fixed a symptom and ignored the cause. He asked for the maintenance history, not the digital summary, the handwritten notes. The old binders no one had opened in years. It took an hour to find them. Red flipped through the pages slowly, stopping now and then, tapping a line with his finger. Here, he said at last. And here, you see that? The engineers leaned in. To them, it looked like nothing. Minor discrepancies. Temperature fluctuations within acceptable margins. Red shook his head. These numbers don't matter by themselves, he said. It's the pattern. She's been compensating for a misalignment deep in the intake assembly. Barely noticeable at first. Over time, it stressed everything downstream. One engineer frowned. We checked alignment. Red looked at him kindly. You checked it cold. You need to check it when she's under load. When she's trying to do what she was built to do. They did as he instructed. Under simulated load, the problem finally revealed itself. A hairline distortion, invisible under normal conditions, but catastrophic when the engine demanded full power. The hangar went quiet again. This time, it wasn't dread. It was awe. The repair took hours. Not because it was complicated, but because it had to be done right. Red worked alongside the mechanics, his hands steady, movements precise. He didn't rush. He didn't lecture. He explained only when asked. And when he did, his words carried the weight of experience earned the hard way. As they worked, stories came out. How Red had been there when the Apache was first introduced. How he'd flown early models that shook themselves apart if you pushed them too hard. How he lost friends, learned lessons, and memorized every sound that helicopter could make. This machine will always tell you when something's wrong, he said quietly at one point. You just have to respect it enough to listen. By nightfall, the repair was complete. The moment of truth came again. Power on. Systems green. The engine spooled up smoothly, confidently, the way it was meant to. No hesitation. No cough. Just raw, control power. When the rotors reached full speed, a cheer broke out in the hangar. Mechanics slapped each other on the back. Engineers exhaled breaths they hadn't realized they were holding. Colonel Harlan felt a weight lift off his chest. Red simply watched. The test pilot climbed in and took the Apache up. Minutes passed. Then 10. Then 20. The radio crackled. She's flying like a dream, the pilot said. Better than she has in years. When the Apache landed, intact and victorious, Harlan turned to thank Red. But the veteran was already walking away. Harlan caught up to him near the exit. You saved this mission, he said. You saved lives. Red paused. He looked back at the hangar, at the helicopter gleaming under the lights. I didn't save anything, he said. I just remembered what she was trying to say. The next morning, Red was gone. No press release. No ceremony. Just a note on the commander's desk with a single line written in careful handwriting. Take care of her, and she'll take care of them. The Apache flew the mission days later. Ground troops came home. The engine never failed again. And somewhere out there, a legendary veteran went back to a quiet life, leaving behind a reminder that experience, respect, and listening can sometimes accomplish what all the expertise in the world cannot. From which part of the country are you watching this video?